Hello, hello, and welcome everyone to another edition of the Live Let's Talk 1943 show. We have a good one to end this year. We have a special guest. I was actually a guest with him on his show, and he's amazing. So we have Audley Stephenson. We're going to talk to him about fear not. He's going to give us some pointers and kind of get us to live our best lives and get out of this fear. So, as I always say, you ready? Let's talk. All right, we're back. We're back. So, before we get started, I always start the show off with a little prayer. So, if you just give me a moment, Lord, Heavenly Father, thank you once again for you to giving us this time to be on this platform to talk about these things, to be able to help people. Use us as a vessel to be able to touch anyone, and we touch at least one person. Our job is done. In Jesus' name, we pray. Amen. Amen, amen, amen. So I'd like to officially introduce Audley. So Stevenson, he's a podcaster. He has a beautiful, great show. We're going to talk about that a little bit too. A professional speaker. He serves as the commissioner for the Canada longest running professional basketball league and much, much more. So Audley, thank you so much and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Regina. It's great to be here. And again, we had a great chat on my podcast, probably, I don't know, just over a month ago, I guess. And
yes.
Great conversation, great insights, I think, you passed along. And, to your point you just made in your prayer, one person walks away with some form of insight or some knowledge gained, and we've done our job. And we definitely did what we definitely did last time. So we're going to do it again now.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So we're going to just dive right in. So as you know, the title of the show is Fear Not. And the reason why I picked that, because we had some great conversation about things, and you really touch on this kind of topic of not fearing, and living that bold life. So let's start with this. So what is your definition? What's your definition of fear? I'm going to tell you mine after.
Fear to me, fear is that thing it's always there. It's how we choose to respond to it, how we choose to react to it, what we choose to do with it. But no, fear is on the brink of any great thing we're about to do. And if you think about that, if you've got that knot in your stomach, if you got that feeling of uneasiness, if you got that moment of doubt, that's fear. And usually when you feel those feelings or hear those voices or those things come over you, is usually because you're about to do something pretty great.
That's true. That's true. And so I think fear, and I'm on the same wavelength with you. So Ollie, so what I think is fear is something, it's just a feeling that you get for a temporary moment of time, right?
Right.
That feeling, like even when I come on, I get that little feeling as soon as I start talking, right? You get that little feeling and you be like, okay, now it's gone. It's literally gone. Like I don't feel nothing. But when you first get something or you're doing something the first time, or even more than one time, I mean, that's actors and actresses or people who speak, they all say the same thing. They get that feeling right before they start to speak and then it goes away. But they know it goes away. So they know it's a moment in time and you feel this feeling and it goes away. And that's what a lot of people are scared of. But you got to push through that little moment. And it's going to happen again and again. It's just the body just works that way.
Well, and I think the important thing to understand is fear is a feeling. And feelings are natural to us as individuals. It's no different than happiness, sadness, angerness, excitement. All these things are feelings that we have, and fear is no different. So if we're rejecting it or stopping ourselves from feeling it, we're stopping a human emotion. And that's not what you and I are saying now. We're saying accept it for what it is and still continue doing what you got to do, and don't let fear debilitate you.
Right. That's where the problem lies. That's where the problem lies. That's what we're going to talk about tonight, because that's the problem. Yes. People get it and they stop right there, right? They get stuck. So fear to me is failure if you don't push through the fear. So what my example is, I always say to people, failure to me means doing nothing.
Yeah.
That's when you're a failure, doing nothing. When you
Yeah.
do something and you have to maybe pivot or reset it because it's not exactly how you want it or tweak it, that's fine, but you did something. So if you get to the fear and don't push through that fear, that's going to be failure. It's going to switch over to failure.
And you raise a really good, important point about doing nothing piece, because you can go into a situation, you can try something, and it didn't give you the results that you want. That's fair. That happens to all of us. We all experience that, right?
Yes.
So it's, what do you do next? Do you take from that, you take the learnings and apply it to future, or you sit back and go, oh, well, it didn't work out too bad? And I think the true failure lies when you don't allow the lessons that you take that experience guide you the next time.
Right.
That's when you really fail.
Right. So those lessons goes into the life belt of the tube belt of life, right? I always call it a little tube belt, and it's a life belt. And you just take those lessons and you go ahead and go, okay, let me pull this out because that happened last time and I know what to do this time. So every time you do it, it gets better and better and better, because nothing you do at first is going to be, of course, that sometimes some people get it. Some people get it, but they don't get everything in life. You're going to always have something in life that's going to make you stumble. Absolutely. But it's a growth. And if you realize that everybody else do it too, you're not the only one. It takes that pressure off of you. I think a lot of people hold on to that because people seem like everything's easy and effortlessly to them. So they say, oh, I don't do it like them. Or it don't sound the same as them, or they do it differently than me, like because they're doing them and you supposed to do you. A lot of times we pay attention too much to other people, and that's what makes us scared, because we don't sound like, I could come up here and say, I don't sound like Oprah, so I ain't gonna do this. I don't sound like her. I mean, I try to do, hey, I'm gonna give you a car, I'm gonna do all, you know how Oprah got her own, but that's her style. That's who she is. She didn't make it up. She's who she is. You got to be who you are, and you just take experiences from them, or take some lessons from them and tweak it to make it your own. Everybody always say, make it your own, right?
Well, the key, if you stop for a second using the Oprah example for a moment here, before Oprah, there wasn't anyone that was like Oprah. She entered and became and put her authentic Oprah self out there, and that became Oprah. So now you and I have to put ourselves out there and be our own individuals.
Right. And then you can learn from people all day.
Sure.
Yeah. But like they always say, you have to make it yourself. So when we're talking about being stuck, that's the point. So let's try to see if we can help some people today. All right. So when we get to a point that we feel fearful and stuck, what are some examples that you could give to get out of the stuck mode?
Well, I think there's some mental work that has to go on in terms of understanding where the fear is coming from. And understanding, is it based in something real? Is it based on my experiences or someone else's experiences? Is it based on a past situation that I'd gone through and I failed before and I'm afraid of failing again? So there's some mental work in understanding where the fear is coming from. Is it even real to begin with? Like, is it? We don't know, right? And so I think that to me, I think has to be the starting point. Where is this fear based out of? Is it based out of because I've never tried it before and this might be the first time and it might not work out? Well, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with trying something and not. Think of riding a bike. Like, did you get on the bike the first time and you figured it out?
It did Papa Willie's.
With some scuffed knees, some elbows, maybe you fell down a few times, absolutely, but you still got back on it until you figured out how to ride it. And so when you're trying anything new, it's that kind of approach that we really need to think about taking. Is, okay, I've never done this before. I might not figure it out right off the bat, but I gotta try it until that whole. We heard the expression, practice makes perfect, and that's what needs to happen.
So what you just said made a lot of sense. Let's use that example as the bike, riding the bike. So you ride the bike. Now, the difference between riding a bike now and riding a bike when you were younger. When you were younger, you were fearful. You didn't let nothing, because you didn't have anything. Life didn't hit you yet, right? Life didn't get you yet. So you jump out of a window. You would jump off of, you would do anything when you were a child. You did so many, you were kids, you had no fear. Because there was nothing to stop you. But see, the thing called life kicks in, And then we start, putting on other people's belief systems. We start seeing things and go, oh, wait a minute, I ain't doing that because I saw what happened when they did that. And we start putting all this stuff on us, or like we just add stuff to us as we getting older. And now we got all these blocks and all this being stuck. But if we go back to think about when we were children, we did things. I mean, riding bikes. I used to ride bikes with no hands. I used
Sure.
to put Papa Willie. I used to do all that stuff and didn't think twice about falling. That wasn't even a thought.
There's a book by a gentleman by the name of Tom Vanderbilt. It's called Beginners, and he talks about him as an adult taking on these things like, for example, learning how to ride a bike, learning how to juggle, learning how to play chess. He talks about all these things that he learned. He actually studied the art of learning as an adult, and talk about the differences between what you do as when you're learning as an adult versus children. And a lot of time the difference is the life experiences. You have all these built up life experiences as an adult that you've gone through, that you've seen, that you've experienced, that come into play. Because we all bring something to the table, Regina. We all bring something to the table. And sometimes what we bring to the table are the good experiences, but sometimes they're not the not so good ones. And that comes
That's
to
true.
Right? So I think you make a really valid point in terms of differences learning as a child versus learning as an adult.
So let's look at the people that are adults, right? We got some adults risk takers that we see out there, and a lot of them are business. The most I guess you would say the Fortune 500 companies, the Facebooks, the Virgin Airlines, those owners, right? They had to do things outside, not being scared. What's his name again of the Virgin Airline? The Richard something? Branson, right? Jumping out of airplanes and doing, but that's because he's not scared. He didn't let fear stop him, so he's inventing all this stuff, airlines and all these things that he has is because he didn't let nothing stop him. He wasn't fearful.
Well, I think with those examples, there's something to be said about having a strong belief and conviction to what you got. So, for example, if there's a product that you're supporting, that you've got the strong belief that you believe in it so much. Maybe you've done the research and you invested, you've tested it, you know it'll work, you know it'll be successful, and you have that belief. So that belief is what drives you past the fear, right? It doesn't hold you back. It gives you energy. It inspires you. It motivates you to want to do more. And so, the fear may be there, but you're like, no, you see something bigger on the other side of the fear.
Right. It's something bigger. And I had used this as an example before. I said, look at everything in the room that you're in. Let's look around in your room. Everybody could do that. Okay, audience, let's talk family. Look at wherever you at this moment. Just look around. If you're in your car, your home, look. Every item that you're looking at is someone who was not scared. Every single item that you see, from the Thomas Edison, from the light. Yep. Because think about it, if they were scared to try new things and didn't do, we would be in the dark. We wouldn't have cell phones. We wouldn't be on our computers. We got, the owner of Apple or Microsoft. These people were not scared. And for them not being scared gave us these technology luxury items, or this easy way of living, because they thought of this. They said they had this vision. I'm going to make this thing that you could use. It's called the internet. I'm going to make this thing you could use as a computer. You don't have to write no more. Think about all these people that invented all these things. The pencil. The simplest thing, a pencil. Someone had to say, you know what? I am tired of using this ink. It's getting everywhere. It's all over my hands. I gotta wait for it to dry. I'm just gonna go out there and make something else. And they're gonna say, "You crazy? How you gonna make what's a pencil?" You know what I'm saying? The simplest thing. And somebody thought he was crazy too.
That's right.
But he's like, "No, I'm gonna do this because I'm tired of this ink all over the place." And look what happened today. We use this every day and don't think twice about it. We think all of a sudden they poofed out of the air somewhere.
That's right.
No, there's a person behind this pencil who was not scared to try something new.
That's right, and that's the key. And so when I tie it into a lot of my work around being audacious and having audacity, it's exactly that: to push past the fear, push past that moment of indecision, push past the uncertainty, the doubts, the suspicions, and still take action anyways. And so when you can do that, oftentimes you're making a difference not only to yourself but to the world around you. I'll tell you a quick story of a friend of mine. She is an accountant, and she works at this big firm. And although she enjoys the accounting field, she's not inspired working with large. She's not inspired by working with a company. What she really wants to do is work for small businesses and help them grow their business. That's where she gets her inspiration. So as we talked about that, I said, tell me about where that came from. And she said, there's a woman that she knew that did that exact same thing and is doing very, very well for herself, and that inspired her. And I said, I want you to stop there for a second. I said, because that woman she talked about also worked for a big company, and she used a big company to do her own thing. And I said, I can guarantee you, before that woman went out and launched on her own, she had fear. She had a moment of indecision. She had a moment where she's like, I don't know if I can do this. But despite all that, she pushed past it and did it anyways. And she most likely did the exact same thing that you're doing right now. You're questioning, and so did she. But the difference is, not only did she go ahead and make that decision, her decision now is inspiring you, and now you're considering it. So my point is that when we take this action, as much as we're doing these bold, audacious steps for ourselves, we're also inspiring others, because other people are watching our greatness and watching the things that we do.
And you know what? And that's a good point, because a lot of times, doing what I'm doing now, this would be going on 2 years in February, right? And when I first did it, I didn't know this is going to go 2 years. I didn't know after the first time, I know I'm going to do it again, honestly, because I know, but I'm doing what is in my purpose. And when you have a driven purpose, it makes that fear kind of small, because it's bigger than you. This is bigger than me. This is not about this me that's talking. I can hear myself talk all day without being on here, It's about me doing this and giving out information and talking to other people and giving that nugget, being that vessel that something hopefully plants in you and it grows at a beautiful blossom, tree or whatever you want to blossom out of it. But I want to give you that seed, because somebody gave it to me and I was awakened, and now I want to share my awakeness to the world. And you just hope that you do make a difference. But like you said, people watch you, because I have been getting calls and getting texts and stuff, and people like, oh yeah, I saw this episode. And I'm like, oh, you did? I didn't even think you was watching. Like, yeah, I watch on a regular. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because when you think about it, when you're thinking about the purpose and your driven purpose, you're not really worrying about that. It's happening, but you're not sitting and counting, the likes and counting you just doing it.
That's right. And I think that's so important, why we need to be our true, authentic self and be the person that we're supposed to be. And when we do that, what we're actually doing is we're inspiring others to do the same thing.
Right. Because it's bigger than us. So when we doing this, and I'm always tell people, they're like, oh, I want to do a podcast. And I have actually a podcast book that help people organize their shows. So I'm like, here, you're like, okay, thank you. Like, they're surprised. I'm like, look, what's for me is for me. What's for you is for you. It's not competition. Everybody has the right, and it's enough people in this world that we can satisfy everyone. It's not about that, and to be a great person, a great leader is to train other ones.
That's right.
That's what makes you great.
That's right.
Yeah, when you get selfish, you start cutting off, you're cutting off. You cutting your foot. What they say, you shooting your foot. You cutting off your what is that face thing? Spite of your face, whatever that saying is.
Cut your nose and spite your face.
Cut your face. Thank you. Yes, you do that. I'm going to say something, and I want you to comment on this. It's my firm belief that greatness exists inside of all of us, but we have to be audacious and bold enough to unlock our inner potential to be the person we are ultimately meant to be.
That sounds like something I said.
Yeah. This is perfect for this show. Okay, so what made you write that quote?
Well, first of all, I believe it wholeheartedly. It's something I actually believe that, we all have our greatness inside of us, and we all have greatness. Every single one of us have greatness, and oftentimes it's hidden. or in some instances, it's kept small because we're afraid to share it. We're afraid to get judged by others. People want to think maybe we're being arrogant by showing off what we can do. And so those are the reasons why people kind of intentionally keep it small. Whereas I really believe that we're meant to shine. We're meant to blossom. We're meant to blow up, and we're meant to do that, all of us at the same time together. And I think what happens is when we allow our inner greatness to show, we're actually giving permission to everyone else to do the same. Right? The greatness that's in you deserves to be seen as well as it's in me. And so the piece that unlocks that is that audacious that I oftentimes talk about. My podcast is called The Audacious Living. The quote you reference again, unlocking that greatness by demonstrating our audacity. And so it definitely is my belief that we all have this greatness inside of us. It needs to blossom, it needs to grow, it needs to come out, and it needs to be able to impact others in a positive way. But it's the key to unlocking that is our own audaciousness.
Right, unlocking it. So let's try to start unlocking it. So I know your podcast, you operate under the BOLD, BOLD acronyms. So can you go over the acronyms of the BOLD and let's talk about that?
Yeah, so it's a framework that I developed, and so I wanted to find a way to be able to encapsulate the key aspects of audaciousness, if you will. And so I developed what I call the BOLD framework. I know how much you like acronyms, so this is right up your alley. So the B in BOLD is better than yesterday. And really this is tied into learning, okay? And learning is a key aspect of getting better. What you did, the successes and the milestones and the achievements and all of those things that you did today are absolutely fantastic. You should commend yourself. You should pat yourself on the back. You should feel good for it, but you shouldn't live there. What can you do tomorrow to top that? What can you do the next day to even better than what you did the day before? And how do you, because what you're essentially doing is you're learning how to build on your greatness. So you're in a state of constant improvement. You're in a state of always getting better. You're never playing small. You're always adding to what you did the day before. So the B is for better than you were yesterday. The O in the framework is outlast adversity. And adversity is a function of life, it's a product of life, of being a human being on this planet. You are going to run into some form of adversity. For even people who you think that have it easy, they still run into adversity. They still run into challenges. They still run into obstacles. But the key is we have to find a way to outlast that, because each and every time that we do, on the other side of that challenge, the other side of adversity, that's where the greatness lies. And so I often have to use an analogy of a boulder is in our path. We're on the pathway, and this boulder is in our way. And it's our job to get up, under, around, over, through, however, we've got to get to the other side, because that's where all of our greatness lies. And so the O is for outlasting adversity. The L in the BOLD framework is live your truth. And this is tied directly into being your true, authentic self, being the person that you're meant to be, that you're supposed to be, that you're born to be. We just talked about it earlier, how important that is for other people to see you live your truth, because you're then encouraging them to do the same. It's okay to be yourself. It's okay to put your skills on display. It's okay to talk about yourself. It's okay to brag. There's nothing wrong with that, because again, you're using your talents, you're using your gifts. We all have some form of superpower, and for some of us, it's natural. We use it right away. Others there needs some work in mining and harvesting it out. But once we're able to, it's incumbent on us to put it into effect and use it as much as we possibly can. So the L in that BOLD framework is live your truth. And finally, the D, disrupt the norm. Be a trailblazer. Don't worry about the path others have taken. Create your own lane. Do something different. Use the example of the pencil and the inventor and what was going through his mind prior to that. And you're absolutely correct. He was tired of ink. You didn't want to use a feather or quill, whatever to write with. You wanted something better, something more efficient, something cleaner. And I can tell you that people undoubtedly looked at this individual and said, wow, this guy's crazy. Like, he's going to invent how he's going to write with a pencil? That's not built in already? You don't have those things.
And you could erase? You could erase?
You erase it? You have to wait for it to dry? You know, you think of the Wright brothers when they're trying to invent the plane, right? Mm-hmm. Those guys thought they were crazy. Like, what are they doing? They're trying to fly? Now, flying is a norm of how we operate as a society. Mm-hmm. Flying is second nature to so many of us. And so, but the point, though, is that had those individuals stayed on that path and didn't disrupt the norm and did what everyone else did and followed the crowd, we wouldn't have these inventions. We wouldn't have these breakthroughs. We wouldn't have these things that we now, quite frankly, a lot of instances kind of sort of take for granted. Right?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
But the point is that in order before that happened, before we got those things, someone made the bold decision to disrupt the norm. And so that's the bold framework that we operate under on the Audacious Living podcast. And I encourage individuals to be better than they were yesterday, to outlast adversity, to live their truth, and disrupt their norm as much as they possibly can.
Amen. There you go. See what I'm saying? I love my acronym. You know, I love my acronym.
I do.
You know, I love them. So, you know, some of the things that I consider roadblocks, I would say, in people with this fear, I think one of the main ones is your mindset. Like, I think that is the main one, your mindset. Because if your mindset is set in a certain way, what people say to you doesn't matter, or what people do doesn't matter. So obviously, if you care about what people say, then that's one of the problems we have, right? So, you know, you hear them about the dream killers, you know, and usually they're the closest ones to you.
Yeah, they are. You know what's so crazy is the opinions of others it's a double-edged sword, because sometimes the opinions of others can help you get through certain situations, or sometimes others can see your greatness in you before you see it. They can point it out and say, yeah. And so in those instances, you certainly want to take in those opinions, take in those insights, and pay attention. But at the same time, to your point, you do have those dream killers that will say, no, you can never do that. And no, this isn't meant for you. And no, you're going to fail if you try that. And so I can certainly see where both come in handy in the opinions of others. I think at the end of the day, though, it really falls back on you, the individual. You talk about the mindset, I think is a really important one. It's your mindset that will guide you through this process. Your belief in yourself. If you believe in this product, Michael Zuckerberg believed wholeheartedly in Facebook as a product. If we do this, this will revolutionize how we communicate, how we connect with individuals worldwide. If he didn't have that vision, didn't have that belief, Facebook as we know it wouldn't exist. And so you have to have that belief, that strong belief, that conviction that you can get through it and you can achieve whatever you're after.
And when you're going back to the mindset portion of it, when you have a dream killer, if you know who you are, and that's where it starts from, knowing who you are. A lot of us don't know who we are, and I preach this all the time, because people really don't sit still long enough to think about who they are. I asked people, who are they? Who are you? They can't tell me who they are. They can tell me their titles. They can tell me, they this, they that, but they can't really tell me who they are. When you don't know who you are, anyone could take you and blow you like a leaf.
Yes.
And you're soaked in all these things. Is why the fear is there, because you soaked in what people told you. And these dream killers who are scared themselves, they don't want you to do it, because first of all, either A, they just scared in general and they don't want you to do it because they're like, well, don't do it because you're going to fail. Or they don't want you to do it because they probably think you're not going to fail. And then when you go out there and do it, they go, oh, I'm going to lose you as this, or I'm going to lose you because you're going to leave me. So I need you to be here with me. You know what I'm saying? Right. I know, because a lot of times, a lot of people that kill dreams, they know your greatness. They know it. They don't want you to figure it out. They don't want you to know it, because they don't want you to move ahead or leave them. So it's kind of like a selfish thing, right? They want you to stay there for them, but you are meant to be great. And everybody, even a person who does that, don't know their greatness. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? So we all are meant to be great. And there's no such thing as not bragging about yourself. You said that, and that makes sense. Don't let people dim your light. Tell them to wear some sunglasses. Things. I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to be who I am.
I'm
You shouldn't
gonna
feel. You
shine.
shouldn't feel right. I'm going to shine. I shouldn't feel bad feeling good about myself. How did that feel? I'm supposed to feel bad about feeling good about myself. That don't even sound right, right?
No.
Because it's not how it's supposed to go. But I could contest to it because I was that person. Because I was too worried about what other people are going to think about me or what they're going to say if I do this. Like you should be able to be free. If I wanted to scream right now, I should be able to do that and don't have to worry about no repercussions of, girl, you crazy? What's wrong with you? What you screaming about? You know what I'm saying? Like, you shouldn't have to feel restraint. And I think a lot of us do. And just the freedom, the peace and freedom that you get not being fear, not having fear hold you down.
Yes.
The joy, the internal joy that you will have just being who you are. If you get there, that's like you said, you got to get over that bridge. If you get there, you're going to look back and go, oh, I wasted all these years worrying about all this stupidness when I could just been who I was this whole time. And that's where I'm at right now in life right now.
Well, and sometimes too, you when you get to the other side, you're going, that wasn't really fear. That was just me making stuff in my head. And I really do think that we have to be very mindful of the conversation that we have with ourselves, because sometimes there's things that are real, and other times that they're not. And we have to make that distinction. Is this a real fear, or is this something that was supplanted by someone else, or I made up myself?
Right. So the first step is find out who you are. Kind of sit still and say, who are you in this world? What is your purpose here? And you're here to serve something. Everybody's here to serve something. Find that out. When you find that out and start living your purpose, the fears go away because now you know what you're here for. When you don't know what you're here for,
that's a whole other. That's a slippery slope, as they call it.
When you don't know why you're here and you just living this autopilot life and you just going to work and coming home, taking care of the kids, or if you don't have kids, you just binge watching Netflix all day, then you go back to work. Think about it. Is that a purpose, or you just on autopilot because you just doing something that is just automatically happens? Right. When you come outside of that and living outside this box, or get out of that mode and realize that you're not you here, you are so much more than that. You're so much more than that. You can still go to work and do. Cause I always say to people, everybody's not entrepreneurs. I get that, but you could be great in your own job. You could be great there, but you could do things outside and serve the community and do things that fulfill your life. Some people want to jump out of planes or do adventurous stuff to kind of make them feel alive. You could just go and serve someone and make somebody better, or have somebody, a homeless shelter, or feed the homeless, or whatever your thing is. Find something that fulfills you.
Right.
Not your job. Your job is getting you every day. They get you 8 hours, 40 hours a week. They got that. It's time for you to fulfill you and do something, the reason why you are here on this earth. You're not here just to go to work.
Yeah.
You're here to do others.
And if you're fortunate enough, because there are people who are fortunate, blessed enough to be able to find that fulfillment through their work.
They have certain jobs that could do that.
That's right, and absolutely.
That's right.
So, and I really think that's a blessing if you're able to be in that point. But to your point, the other aspect of this is, if it's not there, there's other things that you can do and other places that you can try and find that satisfaction, fulfillment.
Right. And then sometimes that's where you find your purpose at. And then you're going to go, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I feel like I feel something I never felt before. I feel whole. Like, this is where, you don't know, but only reason why you don't know because of the fear of doing it. And so you're blocking your blessings by not going out there and trying stuff. So let's go ahead and get this mindset. We're going to give you one to work on. Fear is doing nothing.
Yeah.
You do something, you're okay. Don't worry about it. It will work itself out. Yes. Everybody does things. It doesn't work out perfectly. Doesn't mean they failed. No, it doesn't mean they failed. But that doesn't matter. It shouldn't bother you, because either here or there. It's about everybody worry about themselves. You just do what's right for you and don't care what other people say. And then you start really thinking like, okay, are they really here to help me, or are they here just to criticize me? Right. You were saying that, like, the killer is a double-edged sword. if you have true people in your life, they're going to tell you stuff just to say, hey, that's good, but maybe you could do, do this and do that. But you have to kind of do like a audit of your life. You got to audit your life and kind of know who's there for you and who's there just to hinder you and shoot you in the foot.
So before I became the commissioner of NBL Canada, which is the National Basketball League of Canada, and I used to do a lot of media work for them, and communications, and a lot of behind the scenes stuff. And a dear friend of mine, I brought him one day to. We were having a draft combine where the team selects players, and I was doing a lot of work behind the scenes. I invited a friend of mine because I said to him, I knew he'd enjoy it. He was actually very ill at the time, and so I thought it'd brighten up his spirits. At the time he was fighting colon cancer, and he was really, really not in a good place. And I thought, hey, it'd be a great opportunity. So I brought him out, and he absolutely loved the experience. He had a lot of fun. He enjoyed it. And I remember on the ride back home, we're talking, and this would, this is probably at least 3 or 4 years before I was actually named commissioner. And he said to me, Audley, one day I can see you running this league. I can see that one day. And I remember going, wow, what are you talking about?
Wow.
What are you talking about? Because he saw the greatness in me long before I recognized it for myself. And I fast forward, and I remember the day I got the appointment, someone called me and said, we're thinking about this. What do you feel about this role? And I was like, oh my goodness. Now, by this time, my friend, his name was Rick, he'd already passed away. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my goodness, here I am. I achieved this thing that he saw in me, and he wasn't able to actually see it. Mm-hmm. And I remember kind of going through that moment of like, oh, I'm feeling bad. And I saw myself and I said, wait a second. Rick didn't need to be here to see it because he already saw it years ago.
Yes.
He didn't miss it. And not only did he see it years ago, he planted the seed that allowed that to happen. So again, the opinion of others, there are times that it can be valuable. And so I would never, myself personally, I would never say ignore what everyone says at all. I think we want to pay attention, but be mindful as to what we're taking in and and the message that we're actually internalizing.
Wow. Okay, so I'm gonna break that down. So the way God felt, how that worked out, you thought you were doing something for him. So you went into it with a nice open heart, and you went into it to help him, right? So just because the way you was obedient and you did what was felt on your heart to do, and a lot of us don't listen, like we'll hear it, but we won't do it. But you was obedient and you did it. And that was really for you to be able to hear what he had to say.
Yes.
So you was obedient and did what you had to do. And out of that, you was blessed by getting that seed placed in you, because you wasn't even thinking about it till he said it. And then when you said it, you kind of like, it was still back there, but it was there.
Yes.
And so when that time came, you was ready to step up because you was already told that you were able to do that.
That's
wow,
right.
That's deep.
And I will tell you the thing that he also did, which was I thought important. Not only did he plant the seed, he also nurtured it. Because every so often you call him and go, hey, have you thought about that job? Have you thought about this? And, one day I can see you being the commissioner. So it wasn't only planting the seed, walk away. Every so often you come back and sprinkle a little water on it. Come back and sprinkle and help it sort of flourish and grow. And so when the time came, in fact, when I was approached and I was offered the opportunity, I wasn't that surprised because I had heard about it so often from him while he was with me still. And I was like, wow, like what he said. And in fact, he was the first person I thought about when I heard about the opportunity. Because he called us like Nostradamus years ago, right?
See?
So
See how that works? And that's why it's important to have great people around you.
Yeah.
That's why it's important when people know who they are, they're not threatened and they're not, scared to tell you these things because they're not going to lose nothing. You're not going to lose nothing. You're going to gain. So when you have people around you and you see that they're working on something, they starting a business, look, plant a seed in them. You know what I'm saying? Like build them up. Let them know that you got, their support. You'll do whatever. Because one of my friends, even with social media, I'm gonna tell you, one of my friends, she has this thing about not sharing people's stuff. Like she's like, it's so easy to support people. Just push the share button. Just share their stuff. It's free. You don't have to pay. But she makes a good point, like that support factor that you would need from your friends, or your family, and sometimes it doesn't come from the closest people, sad to say. Sometimes when you start or have something, don't expect it from your people. Just expect God to work miracles and do what he got to do, because it's going to sometimes come from people you least expect. So a lot of times I think the fear factor comes in is when you start, even there's people who start doing stuff and they get to a point they already in their head think like, oh, all my friends gonna support me, my family's gonna support me, they're gonna do all this, and then when it doesn't happen, they doubt themselves and they go, oh, it wasn't meant to be because nobody's supporting this, so it must not be a good idea, and they stop doing what they're doing because they put it and base it on people in their lives.
That's right.
So what do you think about that? Because I know for a fact that happens more than not.
Yeah, I think again, you need to be able to discern, right? And where is the information coming from? Is the person that's giving you this advice, have they ever taken chances in their own lives? Are they stuck? Have they done something that could motivate and inspire you? So I think you always have to be mindful of the source, where you're getting this information from. Is it based on something I talked about? Is it based on something that's fact or reality? Another thing that is real for a lot of people, I think we sort of, you and I touched on this when we were on my podcast, is the impact of childhood trauma and how that comes and how that impacts adults' lives, and how what happened in your childhood follows you all the way into your adult life, and it permeates, becomes a bigger issue. And so, are these fears based on something that happened in your childhood? And I think that's a really real question that we need to be sure about. Like, are these things that are coming up because they're real? Are they basically rooted in something solid, or is it something that in our minds that just developed and we went with it? Those are important questions to ask ourselves.
Wow, yeah, you hit it right there. That trauma, because that's what was mine. I had childhood trauma, and when I realized what it was and solved it, always, when I go out to speak to people, I always tell them my little story, and I said, listen, in 1 year's time, 1 year after I got my help and realized what the problem was, and I nipped it and I fixed it, in 1 year time, I became an author, a motivational speaker, professional organizer, an author. This all happened in 1 year. That's a perfect example of telling you how I was blocked all that time, all those years I wasn't blossomed. And when I realized who I was and what I was about, it just took off like that. Because I had no fear. I just tried stuff and I put it out there. And I just knew if it works, it's supposed to work. If it doesn't, I'll tweak it and try something else. Like I'm not, it's not heavy on me. It doesn't matter. And I don't really care if people say or not. At least I tried. At least I tried. Because a lot of people don't even get that far to even try new things because they're too scared of failing.
I truly believe that when you can earnestly, honestly try, you've already won. Regardless.
There you go.
I think if you will always win when you try, right? Because the fear will hold people back and they won't make that attempt at all. And so you're ahead of the game. And really, if you miss the mark, you learn and try again. And this time you take that life lesson that you got in your life belt and you do better.
Yep, your life belt is very important. Just put stuff like tools in that life belt. And when you get to that next stop, you go, oh, okay, I remember. Let me take this out. Just like you play those games, you run through and you collect, all that stuff, and later on you're able to use it later. That's how I feel life is. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to go through stuff, but that stuff's supposed to happen. It's good. It's actually good. It's good. It's not bad. When things happen to you, it's not happening to you. It's happening for you. So it's supposed to happen. So when you see it that way, you go, okay, what's the lesson I'm supposed to learn from this? What am I supposed to get out of this? I'm supposed to get something out of this. And let me figure it out to put it in my life tool belt. So next time I go, I'll have that build upon. A lot of us go, dang, man, that happened. Oh, man, I knew I shouldn't have did that. No. It was supposed to happen. You were supposed to do that, and it was supposed to teach you something. Everything in life is a lesson. I had to learn that. This is not something I knew. I had to learn this. But I think a lot of us, if we take this time, and I know like we're talking because we learned this.
Yes.
We all had things in our lives that, we had to face and overcome, right? So now we at that point that we are not scared. And, you put a lot of energy and effort to yourself, and when you invest in yourself, it's scary because you invested in so we got to get past that and go, okay, I'm worth the investment. Let me invest in myself. Let me go get a life coach. Let me go get a counselor, or let me go get some kind of help. Like, you're worth that money. You're worth because a lot of times we spend money on all this artificial stuff to make us feel good. We'll go buy purses and shoes and clothes and all this stuff that doesn't, it make you feel good temporarily.
Exactly.
But you need to use that money into a coach or a counselor or a psychiatrist or whatever to fix why you feel you need that stuff. See, that's where you could get that stuff, but if you need that stuff to make you feel good, or you need that stuff to feel like make the world see you as a better person because you have these nice shoes and these nice purses, take that money and go get help. Because when you realize who you are, I guarantee you probably get rid of half of that stuff, because you're gonna realize it doesn't make who you are. It's just a bonus. So what do you think about that?
It's true. Well, that exactly is. I think if you focus on development, I think you always and we say focus on development, it could be books, it could be podcasts, it could be courses. There's things, again, if you go back to the bold framework, better than you were yesterday. Well, how do you get better? You get better by learning, right? You try something, it didn't work out, you learn. That's one way of learning. Other way is the conventional way, where you invest in a professional or a course or a book or whatever. I think those things are good learning mechanisms, and what essentially helps you do is position you to be better next time.
Right. And I know people that kind of step out of the box, and instead of them just buying things or going to concerts, whatever, they actually spent money on going to a conference that's in their interest. Or they went to a conference that was a motivational speaking conference or anything. Like, they tried something new. And after they did it, they realized, like, oh my goodness, this was amazing. And it kind of sparks you to go ahead and do other things. So try something new is one of the things that you can do to get out of this rut or this stuckness or wherever you're in. Do something that you always wanted to do, and do it. If nobody want to do it with you, that's another thing. You know what? Let me just talk about that. Let me get on my soapbox. Ladies and gentlemen, everything is not for everybody. So if you want to do something and you want to go somewhere and nobody else want to go, you still go. If you want to go on that vacation or go somewhere to zen out or whatever, it was meant for you to go by yourself. If nobody want to go, it was meant for you to go by yourself. Do not be scared to go places by yourself. Go take yourself to dinner. Go to whatever you want to do, go do it. Stop waiting on the world to do things. And that's what we do. We feel like if other people cannot validate it, they don't want to do it. It must not be a good idea to go to this place. No, they just not ready. And you are. It's your time. So it's time for you to go do that. It wasn't meant for them. Because I used to do that. And that was one of my things. I used to try to drag everybody with me. When I get this, like, oh my gosh, the world opened up. I see now. I understand what's happening. Oh my gosh, y'all, come on. Y'all got to do this. You'll see. They're like, man, I ain't trying to go do that. I don't want to go see no motivational speaker or whatever like that, because they're not there yet.
Right.
And you take it personal, like, oh, you don't want to do that? And then you feel like, oh, I can't go by myself. Why not?
And you're right. I think you have to be able to be comfortable in your own skin, be comfortable doing things on your own. Again, if you go back to the bold framework, the T, right? Disrupt the norm, right? Maybe you got to do it by yourself without anyone else involvement. These are things that need to be done.
Yeah, it does. And you need to do stuff. And when you start doing it by yourself, at first it's gonna feel a little awkward because you're like, but after you start doing, you're gonna realize the peace that comes with it. You don't have to deal with people and who's coming from here doing that. I don't want to go eat there. I don't want to do that. You actually by yourself, you can do whatever you want to do when you feel like doing it. You gain enrichment. You're going to get the, whatever the thing. So I will put this out here as an action item. My audience, if there's something you always wanted to do or a place you always wanted to go, or you see something that's interest to you, if you want to go to there's a lot of conferences, a lot of them in this world, all over the country, all over the world, that is something that piques your interest. Go to that conference and meet people that are like-minded like yourself, and you'll end up meeting a whole different framework of people that's going to think like you, and it's going to elevate you. You got to put yourself into the element of people, the like-mindedness of you. If you hanging out with the same people, but you're growing and they not, you're going to get stagnant and stuck because you're going to continue to do what they doing because you don't see nothing outside of that. You got to go to people who are doing or what you want to do, and you're going to be like, oh my goodness, and it's going to keep, what do they say, iron sharpens iron.
That's it.
So you can't iron, your iron can't get sharpened if you're with people who are dull.
That's right.
You got to get with people that are sharper than you. You always got to get people that's better than you because they are going to continue to make you grow, right? We got to get out of that. We definitely, we got, I'm hoping for people my age, I'm in my 50s, but I'm hoping that people, I think the younger ones are getting a little bit more because they have just different outlets that we did when we were growing up. But don't let no one stop you going anywhere. Go on vacation by yourself.
Disrupt the norm.
There you go. There you go. I totally believe in that. So living your best life is something that should be your goal. That should be your life goal, to live your best life, regardless how it looks to other people. You go out there and do it for you.
And I think the point of what you said to do it for you is that it's going to be very different. What my best life looks like is very different from yours and the next person, vice versa. Mm-hmm. And so that's why it's so important we go back to being our true authentic selves. Because if we're being our true authentic selves, then we know what we need to do to live our best lives. And again, what's for me is for me, and what's for you is for you. Right? And the comparison will kill us always. We're trying to look where other people are at and want to be like them. Can we take from people and learn from them? Absolutely, without question. But do we want to be like them? That's where we need to be careful.
That's what you said. When you run a race, how you ever watch track? Do people look back when they run? They look to the side. The ones who win are like this, tunnel vision.
That's right.
That's our problem. When we start looking here, looking there, looking behind, and doing all that, you're losing.
It just slows us down. It breaks our momentum. It takes away from what we're trying to do, and we lose our focus.
So and that's a whole nother thing. So the mindset, well, before we wrap up, we're going to just recap, because I really want y'all to take some of these nuggets and start applying them to your life. So what you need to do is first find out who you are. Ask yourself, who are you? That's the first thing you need to do, is ask yourself, who are you? And if you don't know that answer, that's where you start.
Yeah.
You start YouTubing, Audible books, read whatever you need to read to start figuring out who you are, or the gateway.
Professional help, even maybe professional help can help you identify that, and that's not a bad thing. Having a therapist, there's nothing shameful about that at all. But wherever you need to do it, whatever pathway you got to go down and figure out who you are, you're absolutely correct. Figure that out first.
That's the first thing, because that right there going to solve a lot of your problems. Like when you figure that out, it's going to solve a lot of your issues.
Sure.
Then after you do that, be bold. And we already got that. So you rewind this show and listen to the acronyms. Be bold. Because what happens is you got to be bold for you. And that means you got to start doing tunnel vision, because it's going to be people coming at you left and right because they're not going to understand the new you. When you got the new you showing, they're going to question that, because they're like, what in the world's going on with you? Some people are going to drop off. Be ready.
And that's okay, right? But again, I think you're right. Be bold. Better than yesterday. Outlast adversity. Live your truth. Disrupt the norm.
There you go. Please, if you need to write that out and put it on your wall every day. And what I do with my acronyms, he knows I love mine, because that's my name. So I took my name and I said, I am Regina. I am royal. I'm educated. I'm gorgeous. I'm innovative. I'm nice. And I'm amazing. You got to believe that, because if you don't believe that about you, ain't nobody going to believe it for you. Ain't nobody going to believe it for you. So those are the things that I would say to start off at. And invest in yourself. I had to invest. And like I said, everything don't cost money. YouTube is amazing. Audibles are amazing. Reading books, just go into Barnes and Nobles one day and just go get books in certain things that you were working on and read. Take time of yourself. Look, Netflix got their money. The streaming services have their money. They don't need you to watch them 10 hours a weekend trying to binge watch. Binge watch your life. Let's try that. Binge watch your own life and put and invest in you, invest in your own life. And I guarantee you, I promise you, you're going to see changes in you that you never thought could have happened. And then start getting around people that's like-minded like yourself. So as you start growing and you start noticing that other people cannot relate to your growth, find those who do. And then you're going to see the growth in you is going to be out of this world when you start getting around people that's like-minded like yourself. So I gave you 4 good points on how to start living your best life. And Audrey he gave you the bold.
That's it. Bold framework. Absolutely. I love it. Listen, Regina, this has been so good. So fun. Thank you. I love the idea of talking fear and fear not specifically. Let's face the fear. Let's we can accept the fear, but let's not take action because of it.
That's right. This has been amazing because I was waiting. I was like, I can't wait to do this show because anything that help people get out of that stuck, out of that, complacency, out of that procrastination, out of that fear, all of that's in the same family, all cousins. They're all cousins. So if you could get out of that and just live your best life and understand that God gave you a gift and he gave you a purpose and you need to live inside your purpose and you need to find that because you're here to serve. That's what your job is here to do, is to serve, because other people serve you, you need to serve others. So that is that. So before we head out today, I definitely want to thank everybody for joining us today. I am honored and humbled that you are here because you don't have to be. So thank you so much for supporting me in this endeavor of being on Let's Talk 1943. And I thank you because you took your time out to be on this show, because he's the commissioner, y'all, of the Canada League Basketball. That's a big thing. So I know you have a lot going on with that. This is your season right now, correct?
We're starting in a few weeks, actually. We're the January 7th, right after the New Year. So we're gearing up. Now is a busy time, but busy is fun, and I can't have it any other way.
Because you're living your best life.
Got it.
You're living your best life. So that is it. So for Let's Talk is, holiday season. I'll, definitely want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, be safe, and Hanukkah as well, and Kwanzaa. All those that you celebrate, please do it safely. And our show will I'm gonna do the best of show because that's gonna be actually right in the holiday time, the next show. So that'll be the best of, and then we'll be back in January with brand new shows. It will be going on my 3rd season.
Nice.
So yes, thank you God. I'm going on my 3rd season. So we're gonna definitely have some great topics again, some great people. We're gonna do a little stuff. We're gonna change up some stuff. We're gonna get some live audience. We're gonna send a link out to get people to come out here and talk to our guests and get some advice live. And I'm looking forward to that. So my family, get ready. So if you want to come on the show, we're going to have it an option for you to come on the show and talk to our guests next year. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So before we head out today, do you want to do with some last words or give some advice to our audience?
Well, again, Regina, thank you so much for the opportunity to share on your platform. I knew we were going to have a fun chat. I can't believe an hour has gone by so quickly.
Yeah, it's gone.
Time flies. We have a great time talking about good stuff. And so, again, I want to thank you. To our listeners, I encourage you as always. I say always and often, it's incumbent on us to live our best audacious lives we possibly can. We owe it to ourselves and to one another. If you're to live that life, because it makes a difference and as the ripples are just wide reaching, we have no idea the number of people that we can impact by living life we're supposed to. My website, so you have it there, bestaudaciouslife.com. That's where you can find the past episodes of my podcast, and as well the episode that you were episode number 148.
All right, 148. I'm gonna play that number. So
148. Regina talking it up. But yeah, again, if you want to check out the podcast, I've got over 150 episodes over the last 2 years, and we've done a lot of work, a lot of solid guests, a lot of great topics, and I'm certain you'll find something that you can take away to help you live your best audacious life ever. So thank you, Regina. A pleasure. Season's greetings to everyone. Whatever you celebrate this time of year, do so with love. Be safe. Be kind. Show love to one another, and be audacious.
Be audacious. That's it. So please check out his podcast. He has an amazing show. It's beautiful. So please check it out. He got the information. Was scrolling for a minute, so I hope y'all got it. So go ahead and subscribe to him. Subscribe to me. We want to be here and give you this content so we'll be able to better your lives. So y'all have a beautiful holiday season. Happy New Year, and we will see you live in 2023. So, like I always say, let's talk again. God bless. We see you soon.